Live in East Hawaii. I'm Reverend Beverley Strutt. I am the spiritual director here, and today I get to talk about sex in a church. Yeah. Sorry, Maddie. Oh, my goodness. It is so much fun when you follow along the global themes for Center for Spiritual Living, because you have no idea what they're going to come up with next. And you get to step around it. I could have stepped around it. I thought about changing the title to Sex and Spirituality. Yeah. Does anybody know me? Yeah. Not going to happen. We're going to hit this thing straight on, right up front. In fact, I thought I could just show a movie like we do in school, right? But guess what? I think you guys kind of know already what to do, and how it's done, and how it's performed in all of its myriad of manners. So we don't need to go there, do we? Anybody still have a question about how this works? Come and see Susanna, everybody. Susanna, who's been married 5 times, right? How many children do you have? How many grandchildren do you have? Yeah, she wants a lesson. I don't think so. Not at all. So we are going to have a little bit of fun. I do have a little bit of an axe to grind within the talk today, so we'll see how it all goes. At any given point, use the hook. You can pull me out, and we'll be good to go. So, as always, I always like to start with a little bit of a humor, and this one I found quite delightful. I'm actually going to read it because I thought the way they did it was really good. So the Pope died and went to heaven. He was met by St. Peter at the pearly gate. "You were such a good Pope," St. Peter said, smiling. "Tell me what would make you the happiest, and I'll see what you get. See that you get it." The Pope was thrilled. He said, "I like to read the original works of Jesus, his instructions to people for living a godly life. Who knows how they may have changed them through the years." "You are in luck," St. Peter said. "We have a library here containing the original words of all holy people from every religion." So the Pope settled in to read. A few hours later, St. Peter heard terrible moans and wails coming from the library. The Pope staggered out bereft. Holding his head in his hands, he blurted out to St. Peter, "I can't believe it. The word wasn't celibate, it was celebrate." Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine what he missed out on for all those years? Yeah, that C word. Celebrate as opposed to celibate. I think we can all go there. After all, when we speak about sex, and we know that it is, without a doubt, the most natural thing in the world. Yeah, it is. I mean, look around. Do you think anybody would be here without it? Just saying. Exactly. It is the most natural thing. It is literally the act that helps the species survive, and it doesn't matter what your species is. It is still the act of creation. I've found that Dr. Ernest Holmes likes to speak of it as a divine urge. But that's not just sex being the divine urge, but there is this thing called the divine urge. He says, back of all manifestation must be the desire to create, the urge to express. This is called the divine urge. But this urge, operating as law, produces energy. Desire gathers energy for creative purposes and utilizes power to express itself. So dynamic is this urge that it'll cause a little seed to break open the most solid earth in order that it may express itself in the form of a plant. It is the coming forth of spirit into expression, the loosing of energy into action, and is apparent in all creation. So, shall we get it on? No, seriously. How difficult is it to speak about sex? the most natural thing and the most important thing ultimately in this world of survival of each species. It should be as easy as talking about washing your hair. What kind of shampoo do you use? Well, I know I'm going to get myself, some of this is going to come out of left field because this is Spirit speaking. So if I get myself stuck in a deep hole, somebody's going to have to pull me out, okay? It's just the way that it is. But this is the thing, we get so hooked up on this idea that sex is a taboo, that we shouldn't speak about it, that there is something wrong or dirty or foul or whatever there is about it. Got to keep it behind the back door, or in the backyard where the sheep live, or something to that effect, right? No, not at all. This is a topic as easy as talking about washing your hair, brushing your teeth, going out and having a really good meal. The pleasure is equal. And it is wonderful. However, we do have this thing in America that is referred to, in my terms, as the puritanical attitude. I think everybody knows where I'm going with that. The puritanical attitude. So Dr. Holmes, firstly, he speaks about this idea of freedom. Freedom of thought, freedom to be. And he says, we must be very certain that we do not swap one image of bondage for another. I've read a large part of the religious and philosophical history of the world, and I've noticed that most invariably, when the world traded one kind of religion for another, it didn't get a good deal. The Pilgrim Fathers who came to the shores of New England came to worship God in their own way. But the moment they got this, everybody in the colony worshiped God in the way that the strong-minded members of that colony decided was the way to worship God. That is not freedom. So let's say that statement one way. Everybody in the colony worshiped God in the way that the strong-minded members of that colony decided was the way to worship God. They also decided at that time how we would see ourselves, our natural bodies, our natural acts like sex, how that would be perceived. All came out of that idea of those strong-minded individuals. Okay, so one more time. Those are the ones that are in the back garden doing whatever it is they want to do. But out front, it was taboo to see the body. The body suddenly became something that needed to be covered completely, kept to its own self. This beauty that is this creation that is our body, the beauty of the acts it can perform, we're like, no. We're going to put a kibosh on that. That's not going to happen anymore because in our religious philosophy, that is bad. Thank you, kids. That is bad. And guess what? We still live part of those principles today. And one of the things, I noticed, and this is part of my own story, is that I lived in France and Italy for a long time, a fair amount of time, right? So in France, the body is beautiful. Even in Italy, the body is beautiful. They may not go as skimpy with their bikinis on the beach in Italy, but there is still a reverence of the beauty of the body, the beauty of love, the beauty of making love, the value behind it, the family that surrounds that. It's spoken about much more freely and easily. It's appreciated so much more easily. There's less of this backhanded stuff going on. I mean, even back then, in Italy, I was there in 82, 83, around that whole time. I was in Europe from 80 to 86. And there was a commercial that was running at that time. It was a family sitting around in the living room, and it was for condoms. And the statement was, fai bene l'amore, which means to make beautiful love. And at one point, you'll see the mom and dad get up and go upstairs. But it's a family, right? There was none of this, oh, now, every now and then we'll see a commercial now for condoms. They're very interesting, I might add. If you've ever seen one, pause a moment and look at it. It's kind of like, really? Do I really want to do that? You know, am I really going to go there? You know, that becomes the question because of the way it's presented. Fai bene l'amore. This is what we want to do. Make beautiful love. You know, this creates the family. And even if you're not creating a family, still make it beautiful. Why not? Even if it's a one-night stand, who cares? Give it your all. Be there. Be present. Be wonderful in the moment. It is one of the greatest pleasures that comes with this body. We should be in it and loving every minute of it. Because, you know, life changes as we go on. And things don't get so easy as we go on through this. And in France, of course, still to this day, you know, no matter how old you are, even at my age, they wouldn't expect me to wear a full bikini on the beach. In fact, they would love the fact they honor the body, they honor the beauty of the body. They don't hide it in the back closet, telling you you can't do this, telling you that you have to stay dressed while you're having sex. Really? How awkward would that be? I mean, all this fabric, you know? I mean, we've watched some of those movies, Bridgerton and everything like that. And yeah, there's a ton of fabric, and they managed it so well, didn't they? They managed that fabric and the bustles and all the things so well when they were in it. But still, the body, it's beautiful. We don't need to hide it. We don't want to hide it. Let me get back to my notes. Well, I got to keep on track because, you know, otherwise I'm going to be down that rabbit hole so fast that not even a clothesline will get me out of it. But so here's the hard part of it is as this has developed over the centuries, so sex has become a topic for judgment. What you do, who you do it with, when you do it. All of these things are judgment. They are there. They are telling you what you should and should not be doing. And yes, there are some things that have shown up, especially as we have seen that because of this judgment, because of this shadow, not this light, but this darkness that we shine upon the act of sex, we have in the United States the highest rate of sexually violent crimes in the world. Really? Well, you tell anybody they shouldn't, mustn't, it's bad. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to find a way to do it. But it develops this consciousness, or lack of consciousness behind it. There's a feeling tone that comes from the aggression or the I'm going to no matter what, or whatever we are tabooing, we're going to draw towards us because we're giving energy to that which is not what we like to see in the world. We will attract it, and we will see it over and over again. And unfortunately, based on this attitude that did come forward from the Puritans, from the Pilgrims, this is what we're seeing. And right now, the topic of this month is unstatus quo. It's a call to break it open. Let's change the narrative around sex. Now, I'm not inviting us all to get together. Sorry. Not going to happen. Not today, not in church. If anybody was here last week, you might have seen Dennis getting his blow job, so to speak, with Jacques in the back. In fact, Dennis was drenched from the rain, and Jacques got the leaf blower and just dried him off. But we took it a step further. Why? Because we have crazy fun minds, and we were going to go there. And also, we live in an environment where we are, I feel, a lot more open, a lot more willing to have these talks and these discussions. I'm sure that me standing up here somewhere in America, I'd probably be having some stuff thrown at me right now as I speak about this. Thank goodness I can duck very, very well. But so here comes this attitude, this judgment around sex. It is also a way to other people. You can't be doing that. You are an adult. you are consenting, and you are not hurting anybody. You can do whatever the hell you want. Sorry, just my point of view, right? Consenting adults. So here we bring communication and permission also into the act of sex. Yeah, that is something we don't talk about too much. We don't talk about the communication and the permission behind it. There's a lot of assumptions that go on in this world about when, how, who should, why they should, and what it should. They don't talk about communication and consent. But if you are two consenting adults, whoever you are, whatever you look like, whatever you choose to do, you are going to provide an act that is pleasurable, satisfying, and almost enlightened. I hope it's enlightened, because that energy that rises up inside of you before you begin the act is that energy that is the divine having its way through you. It is brilliant. And it's better than washing your hair. I promise, it's way better than washing your hair. So one of the things is othering. We don't want to other. The other one is manipulation. You can have some if you're a good boy. You might get a treat if you're a good girl. Oh, you're not getting any. Ever heard any of those? These are manipulative. Anybody heard of the casting couch? Manipulation of power second to none. And you know how they speak of the founding fathers. Do you think this might have been a trend that came all the way back from back then about how they managed the world, what women's rights were in these certain times and what they could or could not do and how they should be and when they should be at the will? Now, we have seen a lot of times where that is flipped, where the catching couch now starts with a woman using her power. It doesn't matter. It's all manipulation. It's unnecessary. Sex should not be used to manipulate anybody in any shape or form. It should be an act of creation, an act of pleasure, an act of love, if you can. And if you can't, try it anyway, you know? So this is the thing, manipulation. You know, the exertion of its power. It is such power. It does have a lot of power. Look at the advertising companies. Do you think they know the power of sex? Sex sells. Ever heard that? Yeah. It also distorts. The advertising companies use sex in a way that can distort our perceptions, can distort our desires, can distort how we see ourselves. Therein lies the big issue. How do we see ourselves? How do we see ourselves as magnificent human beings, no matter what age you are, no matter who you want to love, no matter what is going on with your body? It makes no difference. Can we see ourselves as these wonderful creations that get to experience everything that the divine is pouring forth on us? Every single thing. Because that, unfortunately, is one of the greatest problems that we have to address, not just with sex, but here it is. This is where we see so much struggle, so much unhappiness, so much strife. This is where we also see the manipulation, we see the othering, we see the judgment. And the greatest judgment of all is the judgment of ourselves. All right, we're going to say this all together one time. I am a magnificent expression of the divine. I am a magnificent expression of the divine. One more time. I am a magnificent expression of the divine, and all that the divine is giving forth is mine, and all that the divine is giving forth is mine. It is mine. It's God's great gift to me. All of this. All of this. I'm keeping Sandra up. You know what she did last night, right? She's tired and worn out this morning. We got to go there, right? Yeah, I got you, girl. So let's get back to the self-judgment. The self-judgment of ourselves. It comes back to this idea of lack. What do we lack in our lives? What do we lack? But also, that lack comes forth, what is the perception of what we should be or should have? Is that real? Or is it something coming through our societal advertising or norms? Or, you know, you get to a certain age, oh, you're going to roll up that wrap right there. That's it. It's over for you. You know, it's done. Or you're too young. You shouldn't be thinking about those things. It's not that. It's the judgment of where we feel in lack. My body's not good enough. Yeah, I'm not as pretty as I used to be. I'm not as thin or as agile or as tight as I used to be. Nobody wants to be with me because of yada, 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 yada. Right? We judge ourselves harshly. And we don't just judge ourselves physically. We judge ourselves with our mental capacity. We judge ourselves with our desire or what we perceive our love should be. A lot of this is protection because we have to be vulnerable, especially if we've had the love of our life in our relationship and it is no longer there in our lives. And now what do we do next? Where can I go? I can't meet people anywhere. Rejection. We judge ourselves so completely. And the thing that we judge ourselves mostly on is that we're alone. We're alone. Come on. The aloneness is one of the greatest gifts we can have. I have seen many, many times somebody coming out of a relationship that ended for whatever reason and want to bounce straight into another without even a thought. And guess what? Whatever was wrong in the previous repeats itself in that one. Nobody gives themselves a time to figure out who they are, where they have come to, what they have changed, what their desires are, how they want to be in the world. But they will judge themselves. They'll go, I am not getting any dates. I am not getting any action. Well, you know what? Maybe we need to take a step back and go, maybe there is a time here for you to get to know you. A time for you to decide what it is you truly want and are. That you are not here to be completed by somebody else. That's another thing. Oh, I need somebody in my life to complete me. Whoa. No, not at all. But unfortunately, these are some of the judgments that come our way. I mean, we have these great, I say great, dating apps and, or should I say, relationship enticers, apps that are online. And I have heard some brilliant stories that have come forth where people have met and had an amazing relationship that went on to marriage and children and everything else. However, as we move a little later into our lives, what I have seen more of is a form of abuse. Using those dating apps just to have a one-night stand. Now, there's nothing wrong with a one-night stand, but the communication and the consent is not part of that deal. So you have two people coming in to this act that are not on the same page. And they're getting hurt on both sides for whatever reason, whoever is doing the hurting. Because the actual being present, vulnerable, and truthful and authentic in that moment is not happening. And so we withdraw. That's never going to happen, can't do that. But now, let's go back to that time that you do have. I remember Mary Ann Williams, who in a Return to Love, speaks about this wonderful way of being with somebody again. And she always says, you don't stand here looking at each other face to face to complete each other. You have come to a point in your life where you are in yourself a beautiful, and she even uses the word yield, individual, where you can stand together like this and look out into the world together. That is the call of being alone. That is the call of that time when you can get to feel what it is you truly want to feel. Know that you don't need anybody in your life to complete you, because you are whole and perfect already as you are. But the desire for a relationship in your life is truth and magnificent, because all life is a relationship. But the greatest relationship that we desire, and I will read to you from Dr. Ernest Holmes, the greatest loves are the ones that bring forth the greatest acts of sex as well. For there is a comfort, there is a safety, there's a truth and a love behind it all that works that divine urge to create, to be in that relationship. Now, some people think that they can get a relationship by making themselves sexually available. How many times have we seen that not work? It doesn't work. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have sex on the first date. Oh, absolutely not. Oh, I would be such a hypocrite if I said that. But I'm not saying that at all. But what we find, especially as we grow more mature in the later years of our lives, that there is more that we desire. And that more actually creates a finer relationship and creates a more desirable way to be with somebody in the sexual activity. It becomes fun. It becomes fun again, because now you are you, truly you, in that moment, having fun, communicating, going into agreement. This is when it becomes fun again. It's when it's not there and we're trying to force something when it doesn't work out anymore. So yes, it is okay to be alone. It's totally okay to be alone. So the call to action, literally, anybody on board? The call to action, first and foremost, is to love yourself. It is truly to love yourself. Not with the buts, not with the if I was this way or that way, is to truly love yourself for all that you are, all that you do, all that you experience, every which way that you express God. Love that about you. And when you come to those things, well, yeah, you know that wrinkle over there or that little extra piece around here, whatever it is, this is still just part of who you are. I had one of the ministers say, you know what? The one thing I always do is I just loved my fat, because everything I loved always left me. You know, it's like, that's not the way we want to go with this, because that's not where we want to. But I've always loved that. I thought it was really funny. He was very, very funny. Yeah, he was the kind of guy that said, if you're on a diet and you have this much cake left, he goes, you don't throw it in the trash. He goes, you take it outside to the dumpster, because you know you're going back into that trash can a little bit later and going, oh, it's still covered. Nothing has touched it. I'm going to bring it out and have a little bit of it. Yeah, lovely, wonderful minister. But anyway, so love yourself. This is the most important thing, because remember, we attract to us who we are. We attract to us, I'm saying it again, who we are. That is the law of attraction. It's not what you think. It's not what you desire, a little bit, but it's not that. It's who you are. They say, if you do not have enough love in your life, give more love. Whatever you feel you're lacking, give more of it, because the universe goes, there it is. The more you are, that is what you will attract to yourself. Wasn't too bad, was it? We did okay, right? We managed through it. Nobody's sweating. Nobody died. Nobody's like running out the door going, I'm never going back to that church again. They talk about sex. You know, if you want a personal session where you want to get down and dirty, no, don't come to me. It's okay. But here, I'd like to leave you today with a little piece from Dr. Ernest Holmes. It's called The True Meaning of Love. It's from, and most of the students that have just graduated will know it's from the Essential Ernest Holmes. You know, I need a sip of water. And a cigarette. No, that would be whiskey. Oh, thank you. All right. You know, I get passionate about stuff, and this is a great topic to get passionate about, because it truly, we want to break open the old norms and the old taboos and just look at life. And you know, we do it so that the next generation doesn't have to have such a great struggle. And most of the outlines that have come about in this last month are from our next gen. They're going through it. They're dealing with all of these norms and wanting to bust them open, all of the othering, all of the identity, all of the how we perceive sex. You know, all of these things are happening to them, and they're like going, no, this is not who we are. We are God's expressions. We should be living this a little differently, because they've also seen how these closed down points of view have altered the society we live in, and has created things like violent sex crimes. Literally created them out of the narrow-mindedness of those that we chose to follow and believe. Okay. The True Meaning of Love by Dr. Ernest Holmes. Human love and the affections often go hand in hand with sex desire, even when not recognized as such. An affectionate nature is generally a passionate one. Love is the most wonderful thing in the world and creates the highest form of energy known to the mind of man. It will be expressed at the level of the passions, or else becomes transmuted into spiritual coin of real and lasting value. But the ideas on sex are likely to become overemphasized in modern literature along these lines. Sex is normal in its proper sphere. If it were not, it would not be. For nature does nothing without some good and ample reason. There it is. There it is. Nature created this. Let's get on it. Let's do it. It should be fun. The true meaning of love is a wonderful thing, for it is the desire of the soul to express itself in terms of creation. Creation is brought about only through the self-givingness of the lover to the object of its love. This is why when we love people, we go to the limit to help or to serve them. Nothing is too great. No sacrifice is enough. The true lover gives all and is unhappy in not having still more of himself to give to the object of his adoration. Because of our emotional nature, love is generally expressed through the sex desire. But too great an expression of this desire can be destructive, for it depletes the vitality and demagnetizes the one who overindulges. Overindulgence. We spoke about that in other habitual forms. The sex relationship is not necessary to the expression of real love. Love is the givingness of the self. And if this givingness is complete, sex will just take care of itself. So one more time. Love yourselves first. Know it, stand fully in it, and be open, because you are not vulnerable to somebody else's desires without your consent. That is the truth, and so it is. All right, let's take this to prayer. So we just breathe into this moment and into this time, recognizing the power and presence of the divine, recognizing this magnificent creative intelligence that is in, through, and all creation. Every single expression is divine, is God's divine way of having fun in this world as us. We are literally God having a good time. And so I know for each one of us that this pleasure that we experience in our lives in all ways is the divine having pleasure as us. And whether it is a magnificent meal or creating a magnificent meal, whether it's walking through nature or just being one with the ocean, whether it is having an amazing sexual activity with the one you love or a one-night stand that you give all to, it makes no difference. This is the pleasure of the divine having its way as you. And above all else, the divine knows you as whole, healthy, and perfect. And so when we lean in and know that for ourselves, we can get that feeling, that growth, that enlightenment, that awareness that we are magnificent, that we deserve this great life that we get to live, and we can step forward into it with confidence and zeal. And I know that it is good. For I know that the divine has said, yes, yes, my beloveds, yes. It is already done and done magnificently. So why don't we claim this as we can say together? And so it is. Thank you.